It was actually 10 years ago on the 18th of August where my grandmom died, and she was my best friend. This was the first time I tried to connect to spirit, quote unquote. I went out on the balcony and I just start talking out loud, to my grandma. I'm trying to reach her soul, trying to talk to her soul and say, stay. You have to stay. You can't leave me like this. I can't go on without you.
Since I started with my YouTube channel, right, one thing I've noticed is that Africans have claimed ancestral worship as their practice, like it belongs to them. But when you look into history, or when you look into our world today, you'll find out that ancestral worship is something that is being practiced in China, India, the United States, in fact, all over the world. That's why when you come to South Africa, you'll find people like witch doctors, a sangoma. But when you go to the United States, you'll find somebody like a medium, right? You'll find psychics there and all that. Ancestral worship is something that is a universal practice. It is practiced all over the world. But we see Africans today trying to claim it and say, no, this is ours. And this is what today's episode is going to prove, that ancestral worship is all over the world. It is not just in Africa, it's different names, but it's all over the world. But when you hear them talking about it, telling you that African spirituality has been there before even Christianity was there, we do not deny that. I mean, the word Africa is not even African itself. It's a Latin word that was given to you by Romans. You don't have a problem with it, but you have a problem when you start talking about the Bible. You are always triggered, you are always offended. But anyway, we are here to offend you. And whenever you get offended, unfortunately, we are not sorry, but we believe that you're gonna be fine. It shows that you're human. Without wasting your time and my time, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so that you can be notified whenever we drop an episode.
And then my uncle committed suicide when I was in high school. So I was just really surrounded and inundated by this death all the time.
Yeah.
It was actually 10 years ago on the 18th of August. So very recent, the anniversary where my grandmom died, and she was my best friend. So we were actually on a cruise when this happened. Obviously would not have gone on a cruise if we thought something was going to happen to my grandmom.
Yeah.
It was completely unexpected, just out of nowhere. We're just waking up on a boat in the ocean. 3 hours later, my grandpa calls and she's in the hospital and it's not looking good. And this was the first time I tried to connect to spirit, quote unquote. I went out on the balcony and I just start talking out loud, to my grandma. I'm trying to reach her soul, trying to talk to her soul and say, stay. You have to stay. You can't leave me like this. I can't go on without you. And it led me to a medium.
So exactly what I was saying, that the concept of speaking to ancestors is not only exclusive to Africans, it's a universal concept. I want you to notice how the devil uses desperation to open doors for whatever he wants to do in your life. If he wants to possess a part of your life or your whole life, I want you to see how the devil uses desperation.
This was the first time I tried to connect to spirit, quote unquote. I went out on the balcony and I just start talking out loud, to my grandma. I'm trying to reach her soul, trying to talk to her soul and say, stay. You have to stay. You can't leave me like this. I can't go on without you.
When you go to the book of Matthew 4, we are told that after fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, Jesus was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to turn into bread. Now, key point there, Jesus was hungry, right? Now, desperation comes where Jesus is hungry. If he's hungry, he's definitely gonna do it, Right. Now you have this girl, her grandmother has died. She was her best friend. She's desperate. She needs her back. And then she just goes like, please don't leave me. That's where the concept of speaking to the dead comes through. The door opened when she was desperate to speak to her dead grandmother.
About 6 months after she died, where I just wanted to hear her.
So a medium,
Medium.
like a psychic, or
So-
like how do you? Because yeah, for those of us who don't know, like
So a medium would specifically be like necromancy, like talking to the dead. They can
Okay.
have psychic ability, like because when you hear psychic, that's more so like fortune telling, like gazing into the future sort of thing.
okay,
Mediumship is communing with dead people. The reason that is, though, I just want to share some context on that, is because like demons, they have been around forever.
Yep.
Like there's familiar spirits, that's biblical. They
Yep.
watch, they observe,
Yep.
they're very intelligent. So they're going to know things.
Mhm.
And there are demons that have a specific assignment on like this person, that person, on this life, on that life. And so they knew what I was doing that day.
We gotta understand what a medium is. Now, a medium is a person who claims to speak to the dead on the other side. And mediums practice necromancy. Necromancy is the practice of speaking to the dead. Unlike in South Africa, where a sangoma would throw the bones and they would tell you what is what through the bones, or a sangoma will come and tell you that this and that and that and that, or however they talk to you, I don't know, or them going to the river and all that. This is another form of speaking to the dead. Usually, mediums would use tarot cards and sometimes crystals, right? Sometimes crystals. A perfect example of somebody who practices necromancy in South Africa would be Thembi from Zosla.
Nna ke a dumedisa mme ke dumedisa bjale ka koko wa makoti mosadi wa Xolane. Nare wena Xolane o batla o tseya Sethepho. Sengikhathele mina. Yabona ngawe hayi sengikhathele. Koko phela khuluma. Ufunani? Ufuna isithembu? Ufuna isithembu? Khuluma ke. Ngoba phela ngizohlupha abafazi. Ikhaya lami. Ngihlukumeza amantombazana mlamleli.
So one thing you'll notice is that it's like a spirit of somebody has entered her and then is speaking through her. So the concept of speaking to the dead, the concept of ancestral worship is not exclusive to Africans, but it is a universal concept. It's not only Africans who discovered it. God was also against the same practice in the Bible to show that it is not a practice that was founded by Africans, but it is a universal practice.
And mediums genuinely think they're doing something good. Like she thought she was helping us. She was even saying that like the archangels were there and she was praying, like she had a crucifix on the wall, like all this stuff. So she thought she was doing something on behalf of the kingdom of God.
When you go to the book of 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, it tells us that Satan masquerades as the angel of light. So when he comes to you, he comes like he's bringing a solution, right? That's why also the book of Proverbs tells us that there's a way that seems right in the eyes of man, but the end of it is death. We can chase all these things and they can seem like, we are finding our identities as Africans, but the end of that road is death. So of course they will come to you and tell you that this is who you are.
Jesus needs agreement from us, right? Like he needs agreement from us to receive. We are saved by grace through our faith.
Yeah.
So we have to actually agree with him. So, you know, everything in the kingdom of dark is a counterfeit of the kingdom of light. So with the demonic, there has to be an agreement. And this is how they do it. Like they rope you in, they tell you like 90% truths just so they have access with the 10% lie.
Yeah.
So this takes us back to Genesis 3. The enemy finds the woman, and then 90% of everything that the enemy said to the woman, it was true. The tree was going to give them the ability to know what is right and wrong. That was 100% true. But the 10% that he left out was that you are also going to become sinners. That was part of the 10%. So what the enemy does, he comes and he tells you that, listen, your ancestors used to worship something before they received the Bible. But he will never tell you what those things are. He will tell you that your grandmothers as Africans, your grandfathers as Africans used to worship something. They used to worship in a certain way. But they will never tell you of the things that they used to do. So 90% of the truth, they will tell you. Yes, there are missionaries that came, used the Bible out of context, and took land from your grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers. But he will never tell you that they made covenants. Some of those covenants are the ones that are keeping you in the same position even today. Some of those covenants are the ones that are making black people to hate each other today. But we are not ready to have that conversation. Some of you are already offended by most videos that I've made, which is a good thing. I'm not sorry, by the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, that day she had cards out, you know, after all said and done. And she's giving me these very, by the way, kind and loving messages from grandma that she's always with me and I can always talk to her. And she knew all the stuff that we had gone through together. And it was so comforting to me.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, that's the agreement. So she had the cards out. I picked a card up and that led me to like want to go home and buy cards, like oracle cards, which led me to wanting to buy a book about my own mediumship and how I can do what that lady did, because I thought that was awesome that she was helping people.
Wow.
I have like an arsenal at this point of like spiritual practices that I'm doing. Tarot cards, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing crystals, and I'm meditating, doing all of the things. Like, I don't know what else there is at this point. And things like aren't getting better. And I'm still looking. Like I still am hungry. I'm still thirsty. So what's next? Like when am I finally going to have this like enlightenment that I hear about in all these practices?
Here's one thing. The devil keeps you going down the rabbit hole. Each and every day there's something new you gotta search. There's no satisfaction. You know, there's no point where you are like, now I've found what I was looking for. But you keep searching.
I'm still looking. Like I still am hungry. I'm still thirsty. So what's next? Like when am I finally going to have this like enlightenment that I hear about in all these practices?
Why do you think it's called LGBTQIA+? It starts like you have found your own identity. Before you know it, you identify as a bird.
Today, I'm gonna try drinking from a dog bowl for the first time.
Okay, come get your water. You look so cute.
I'm Kay, and this is my partner, G. People judge my relationship because I feel more like a dog, and G feels more like a cat. I started socially transitioning when I was 21, like changing my name and asking people to call me by different pronouns. but physically I started transitioning in 2018.
I feel like I've always kind of been a cat. From a young age, I had a little cat who basically grew up with me. Certain things about me are just very cat-like.
So the plus sign means that you keep going down the rabbit hole. You do not stop searching. So it starts as you are gay, transgender, and now you identify as a dog and a cat. I don't know, that kind of a life is sad. Because you keep searching. You don't know where you're going. You keep searching. There's no stop sign. There is no way you are like, okay, I'm good. Now I know what is required of me. You're going to keep slaughtering goats. Those things are always going to tell you that slaughter goats. Slaughter and slaughter and slaughter. You're going to slaughter your whole freaking life. The devil does not give you satisfaction. Those who do money rituals, they never stop searching. They never stop searching for wealth. Why? Because of the devil keeps you going down the rabbit hole. So it's the first sacrifice, another one, another one, another one. Right now I'm turning into DJ Khaled. Another one and another one. Right? Why? Because he keeps you going down the rabbit hole. But here's the beautiful thing about Jesus Christ, and here's why I'm Christian today, and here's why I like being called brainwashed. It's a beautiful thing. If following Jesus Christ makes you brainwashed, this gotta be the most beautiful system to be brainwashed in. Honestly, while the enemy keeps you going down the rabbit hole, what happens with Christ is that once you find yourself in a relationship with him, you stop searching, but you push a relationship with him. You know what is required of you in that relationship. You are not the one who's searching, but he's the one who leads you. You know what your purpose is. You know what your identity is. You know where you're going. You know places you're supposed to hang in. You know places you're not supposed to hang in. There is no walking without seeing where you are going. There is no blind person leading the blind person. But anyway, we are brainwashed. This gotta be the most beautiful system to be brainwashed in. Jesus is Lord, and every knee shall bow, whether you believe it or not. Jesus is Lord. And you are not saying this by mistake, hey? You are saying this because you are supposed to say it. Whether you're convinced or not, you are supposed to say it. So that's it for today. Those who are offended, we thank God, because that's one way to see that you are human. You gotta be offended as a human being. We all do get offended sometimes. And those who learned something and those who believe that they need Christ in their lives, we bless the Lord. And yeah, until the next episode, God bless.